Join us for a captivating new series where Lawin sits down with the trailblazers of the music and entertainment world. Discover the stories behind the faces and voices that shape our culture and community.
We will bring you exclusive interviews with industry legends and rising stars. Behind-the-scenes insights and get a peek into the creative processes and personal journeys. Artists and performers and their upcoming shows and events.
Stay tuned for more updates and sneak peeks. Follow us on social media and subscribe to our channel.
Be bold. Why not? Season 3. Make your mark, lead with pride.
Arm yourself with courage. Stand out and rise above.
Be the leader that you can be.
Lead others with passion.
Join us as we chat with MJ. Be part of the conversation. Every Monday at 7 p.m. Central. Tuesday, 8 a.m. Philippines.
Ready for some real talk? Pink Table Talk is all about empowerment, entrepreneurship, and the vibrant stories that make the world go round. Don't miss out on the gems shared in this heart-to-heart session with Dr. Carly D. Every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Central Time.
Attention, food lovers! Get ready for a brand new culinary adventure with the Commissary Kitchen.
Join us every Thursday at 8 p.m. Central Time, or 9 a.m. in the Philippines, for a live show that brings the best of the kitchen straight to your screen.
Presented by Lawin Live Stream and Podcast and produced by Lawin Media Network, we'll explore delicious recipes, share expert cooking tips, and bring you closer to the world of gourmet cuisine.
The Commissary Kitchen, where every meal is an experience. See you there. Tune in to Legal Treats with attorney 𝙀𝙤𝙧𝙚𝙬𝙚𝙧𝙀 every Friday at 8 p.m. Central Time.
Get your weekly dose of legal insights about laws and legal matters, especially on divorce, estate planning, probate, and settling a deceased estate.
Engage in discussions by posting your questions, comments, greetings, or shoutouts.
See you every Friday at 8 p.m. Central Time. That would be Saturday at 9 a.m. Philippines. Don't miss out.
In a world cluttered with information, where truth is power, Lawin Weekly News stands apart.
We delve deeper, uncover facts, and bring stories to light. From political showdowns and economic triumphs to the pulse of the street and the heart of the community.
We capture the moments that define us, stories that challenge, inspire, and transform.
Tune in live Sundays 8 a.m. Central Standard Time and Sundays 6 p.m. Central Standard Time.
Are you ready for engaging conversations on education, teaching strategies, trends in the classroom?
Tune in to Teacher Talk, Live Chikahan, with your hosts, Teacher Cora and Dr. Clare.
In each episode, we'll dive into meaningful discussions, share insights, and connect with fellow educators.
Don't miss out on the fun and camaraderie. Grab your coffee and join us for some lively Chikahan. Every Saturday, 9 a.m. Central Time, 10 p.m. Philippines.
Lawin Media Network.
Bringing to you the most relevant content across all platforms.
Business, legal, politics, health, lifestyle, and entertainment.
Your source for all the news and updates in the greater Houston community, from Texas and all over the world.
Get informed and empowered with Lawin Media Network.
The following program is produced by Lawin Media Network. The views and opinions expressed in this program are solely those of the individuals appearing on the show and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of Lawin Media Network, its affiliates, sponsors, or partners. The content provided in this program is intended for informational and entertainment purposes only. Lawin Media Network does not guarantee the accuracy, completeness, or timeliness of the information.
All right. Good morning. Good morning, Teacher Cora. How are you?
Good morning, Dr. Clare. Good morning, Pilipinas.
Hindi. Good evening, Pilipinas. At good morning.
Alam ko nasa Amerika pa. Okay,
Amerika.
good evening, Manila. Good evening, lahat ng mga lalawigan sa Pilipinas, from Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. Magandang gabi.
And also good morning to everyone tuning in from the United States, from, the east to the west to the central. We're actually in the central, so good morning. It's 9 o'clock and we're just ready for our live chikahan na makabuluhan. That's the difference with our chikahan. Hindi lang maritesan to. It's maritesan with a cause, di ba?
That's right.
So today, do our morning, greeting. Make sure to have your coffee.
Magandang umaga. Kape muna tayo.
Milk, magpainit muna. Kasi maulan dito sa Houston ngayon. It's raining outside in our area. So how was your weekend?
It was busy. We're ending up the first 3 weeks of our first term. And we're getting ready to have an assessment. You know how it is, beginning of the year assessment, and then we use that in order to plan our lesson and see where the kids are. And you know that we're on that point now. By next week, we have a holiday, 3 days holiday, y'all.
Yes,
America. We're going to celebrate our Labor Day, and teachers are out for 3 days, actually 2 days now. Yung Monday professional development, and then holiday, and then Tuesday is professional development. So walang bata. We're getting ready.
The teachers are still there, doing the work. Yeah, I know the 3-week mark is usually that time when the data. You start looking at the data, and then as what we say, right? Data drives instruction. So make those necessary tweaks. As for me naman, sa university, we started our first week. So it was our first week back. I was just excited because I got to meet my doctoral students. We're looking at organizational behavior. It was a fun group, so, may talaga, I think it's different. And of course, we had some conversations, there's currently school leaders, mga assistant principals, and all that in the school. So we had a good conversation about how school started. Again,
that's a nice thing. That is really nice.
Yes. You know what? I really need to do this shout out. Hopefully we can put this on screen. Kasi dapat talaga shout out si Cel Marie Alagos, because you know what? Even before we started, I already saw this message from her na good morning po. So thank you so much. Right here, Cel Marie Alagos, good morning po. And
good morning, Cel.
Yes, and then she also added this one, says, ay, ang saya po sa Houston ISD po. Yay! That's good to know. All right. We actually have a wonderful topic today, right? It is, ang title natin is Eskwela
sa Pilipinas at Amerika. Parehas ba?
All right.
Parang people would ask, when I told somebody about our topic for today, Cora, Is that really a question? Isn't it obvious? Well, I told them that we have so many Filipino teachers who are now in
Mhm.
American system of education,
Mhm.
and then most of them had taught right there in the Philippines, and then
Mhm.
we thought of having the experience of teaching here. That's why we wanted to know how is it, how will they compare the two systems when it comes to professional development,
Yeah.
instruction, and all of the things that they do in order to hone their skills. So, yung
Exactly.
po ang rason kaya we put this question there. And I'm telling you, we have invited guests
Yeah.
that will enlighten us, enrich with experiences back home and in here. So, Dr. Claire?
Yeah, let's get started. You want me to go ahead and introduce our first guest, or you do the honors of introducing the first guest?
Um, okay, so for our first guest,
Yes.
she is a former colleague of mine, and I am honored and actually very happy to introduce to you our first guest for today. Her name is Maria Lycia Laig. Okay, and a lot of you probably from the Philippines would know her. Uh, Maria Lycia, I would call her Lilith, okay, has 33 years of teaching experience with her alma mater. So she's a
Mhm.
graduate of Colegio San Agustin. 31 of those is, as I said, in Colegio San Agustin. She taught in here in United States in 2002, particularly in Brownsville, Texas, as a special education teacher. Well, after 2 years, she went back to the
Mhm.
Philippines and worked with Carolina Special Education Center, and this is along Taguig, while pursuing her master's degree at the University of the Philippines. She was hired again by Colegio San Agustin in Makati in 2007. She collaborated with fellow teachers by providing accommodations to learners with specific learning difficulties
I love
in
it.
the grade school department. In 2019, Lycia, she was stopped by the coordinator of wellness and home study office, particularly Dr. K. Lor Cruzado, and the assistant principal of the grade school department of Clay San Agustin, Maria Rowena Aita, a friend of mine too, to become the grade school associate teacher in charge of the Augustinian learning support.
Wow.
Okay, so you call it LALS.
Mhm.
Okay, this is uh, an arm learning program of Colegio San Agustin, focusing on the academic support of those students there.
Mhm.
At present, she is still at Colegio San Agustin supporting those students, and then she finished her master's degree, watch out, in special education at St. Paul's University.
Oh,
Okay? For now, let us all welcome Maria Lycia Lai. Good
hello.
evening, Lycia.
Good
Yeah.
evening, Dr. Claire. Good evening, dearest friend Cora. Thank you very much for inviting me to be part of your Chikahan today.
Yes.
Thank
And thank
you.
you also, Miss Lilith, for being here. I know that it's late time there in the Philippines, but you really took some time to be with us. We really, really appreciate you. We love that you have both the insights in America and in the Philippines. And what I love about your introduction, and hopefully we hear more about your story, is that how you are taking it back also dyan sa atin. And it's just amazing to hear that. So thank you so much.
Thank
Now,
you also.
Yes, let me go ahead and introduce our next guest. Okay, our next guest is Miss Gemela Lim. She is currently the Mathematics Department Chair at Aldine Young Women's Leadership Academy in Houston, Texas. This is her 37th year in education as a math teacher and in her role as a department chair. Her teaching experience has come from high school, but she also taught in the middle and junior as well as college mathematics. And as a member of the instructional leadership team, she works closely with campus leaders to segregate data, develop and implement instructional and intervention programs. She works with the math curriculum-based professional learning team to plan exemplars and share effective instructional strategies for student achievement. She is one of the district's presenters, as well as a curriculum writer for Algebra 1 and Geometry. She has worked as an instructional coach specialist and a department chair at Nimitz 9, and then continued her work in the current school she is in. Her educational goal and mission are grounded extremely in a rigorous mathematics content and incorporating the latest research and pedagogy that would help increase student success, to be lifelong learners and to mature academically and show potentials not only among minorities, but all students under her care. Equity and quality of education are her driving force. Hence, leading teachers as well as mentoring novice student teachers in her advocacy. She is also very actively involved in the community, and she is part of our Unified Houston, who is serving our J1 teachers. She also she presented in many professional developments in and out of the Aldine district, as well as in Region 4 conferences at the Sam Houston University for J1 teachers and at Rice University School Mathematics Program. Miss Lim, or Gemela, is a recipient of the 2021 Outstanding Leadership in Education by Unified, a 2023-2024 Teacher of the Year at the Young Women's Leadership Academy.
Wow.
And most currently, the 2024 Excellent Educator and Leader from the Knights of Rizal, Texas Area Foundation. She was also the Outstanding Teacher of the Year at La Consolacion College, Manila in 1985. During her college senior, she was awarded the Presidential Gold Medal Award and Plaque for Academics and Leadership at Centro Escolar University, Manila. She is an active member of many organizations and nonprofit, and at church and nonprofit organization. She earned her degree in majoring in mathematics and English at Centro Escolar in 1991. She came to the US and then sought an opportunity to find a job as a teacher, and then the rest is history. Happily married to Feliciano, and they have 4 wonderful children who are also very successful in their own field. We have Lawrence, a supply chain management IT, Laura, a chemical engineer, Leia, a social worker, and Leandro, who's active in the military. Wow. Let's all welcome Miss Gemela Lim. Good morning, Gemela.
Good morning. Magandang umaga, Houston, sa US, at magandang gabi po sa Pilipinas. And it's been an honor really to be part of this Chikahan. And hopefully we can impart something and there will be some takeaways from our audience.
Yes, surely there will be. Let's go ahead and let's have our morning toast. Let's have our morning cheers.
Morning cheers, Doc.
Yung mga ano natin, kasabay natin. Make sure you have yours. Good morning.
I think we need to let Ronnie's wife.
Oh, okay.
I'm just waiting. Let me see.
Okay.
Justina, are you with us? There you go. Good morning. I'm going to introduce you first. Good morning. Okay. Justina Mataquel has a diverse teaching background before her roles in New York. Guys, she is based in New York. She has an she is an elementary teacher in the Philippines where she built her foundation in education. Her experience spans various educational levels from elementary education in the Philippines to middle school. She teaches gifted and talented students in Bronx and lecturing at the City University of New York. This varied experience showcases her adaptability and dedication to teaching across different ages and educational system. Ladies and gentlemen, friends from Houston and the Philippines, let us all welcome Justina Mataquel. Thank you, Justina. Maybe you could tell more about yourself later.
All right.
You.
Morning, everyone. Guess what? Oh my goodness, introduction pa lang, grabe na talaga. I'm sure our audience are really, really looking forward to hearing more of the insights of our distinguished guests, our experts. So when we come back, we will start with our first question to our guest. See you in a few. All
we're
right.
back.
We are back, and we'd like to say some shout outs to our audience who are with us, joining us with the Chikahan. Let's first start with a shout out to Sel Marie Alagos. Good morning po, Sir John Del. Oh, John is also watching us.
Ano natin yan? Abby dyan, loyal fan. Okay. We have also Mildred Danao Molito, Ate Gemela Lim watching here at home with Sandro Molito. You know, they are the superpower couple that we have.
Yes, power couple talaga. And we have Isabel Villanueva Salter. Hello there, Lycia. Ah, yes.
Okay. So we still have ang bongga ng ating mga kachikahan. Mabuhay kayong lahat. Of course. Thank you, Mildred.
Yes. And then Sel Marie Alagos says, good morning po sa lahat. All right.
I think we're ready for let's roll with our question, Dr. Clare.
Yes, let's go ahead. So, our first question, this is for everyone. I can probably start with Justina, if you can start with this question. So, how long have you been in the American public school education, and how long have you taught here or in the American educational system, and how many years in the Philippines also, so public or private man?
Okay, good morning, US, ESTN Houston, and good evening, Philippines. So, in the American public school system, I'm already turning 20 years this September, and I will start working on my 21st year. In the Philippines, I worked there for 9 years, 1 year in private, and 8 years in public school system.
All right. Salamat. Yes, let's go ahead. Miss Gem.
Oh, hi. Good morning. So I just finished my 39 years in public school, but I also taught 5 years in private school here in Houston, and then 3 years in the Philippines. So 37 years now as a teaching. And, they said like, you still have your stamina, you still have that passion. It's like, yes, indeed, it's still here and it's not going to go away.
Okay. And then what about Miss Lilette?
Yes, I'd like to correct my own bio data. It turns out, bio note, it turns out now that I'm thinking about it. So 31 years with Colegio San Agustin Makati, 2 years with Carolina Special Education Center, and 2 years in the United States with Ituria Elementary. So that would make it more than 33 years.
Okay, yes.
What about you, Doc? Have you taught in public school in Manila? Doc Clare?
Oh, me. You said Manila. So for me, my journey is that I am an alternative certification. So I taught about 2 years in the Philippines, and then went to California and taught there for another 2 years before I moved here to Texas, wherein this will now be my 18th year. So I will have about 22 years of teaching experience. Yes.
Naman, I did not have experience in public school in the Philippines, but I do have private school. I have 21 years in public school, in the Philippines, private school. And then here in Houston, I have already 13 years total. So, no, not 13 years, 14 years total. So, approximately 30 plus years and still going. So,
yes.
Look at that.
I know that's the varied years that we have, and I think for most of, or for some of us or most of us, right, there is always that time that you start with the private and then leaning towards public, and I think that's a very good question. Why we do that, right? Because that was also my thing. All right, so my next question will be for Lycia still. How do you get certified in the Philippines? How long is the process of certification? And what should a certified teacher do to enhance their certification in the Philippines?
Okay. Nowadays, it's already in the law that you have to take the licensure exam or the LET to become a professional teacher. There was a time, though, that if you served, let's say, 5 years already teaching, you don't need to take the exam. But that was sometime in the 80s and the 90s, if I remember correctly. But now they made it a law that if you want to be a teacher, you have to take the exam. Aside from that, let's say, because when I became a teacher, I did not have the units. That I did not have teaching units. So I had to take the certification for professional education at the UP. I had to take the minimum number of units, which was 18 units.
Mm.
So I did that in order to qualify for the PRC, or for the PRC card given by the Philippine Regulation Commission, for the licensure. Now, nowadays, only those who have the 18 units or who have graduated with a BA in education or a BS in education can actually take the LET. Now, that is the minimum requirement.
Okay.
Now, if you enter, since I'm a teacher in a private school, if you enter the private school, you're not immediately a tenured teacher. So you have 3 years probationary. Within those 3 years probationary period, you have to take the test, you have to take the LET, and you have to pass it.
Got it.
In order to stay as a teacher. Now, sometimes they give special considerations, but I know for a fact that we had teachers before who did not pass the LET, and they were not given tenureship or permanency at our school. So they had to find job again at a different school. Now, here's where it differs. Once you're in a private school like Colegio San Agustin, promotions and other, let's say, special assignments, they are assigned to you. If, for instance, you want to be a coordinator, let's say you want to be a subject area coordinator, English, etc. In our school, there is a nomination period. So your colleagues can actually nominate you to become the coordinator. Now, of course, the administration will go through those nominations, and they will investigate. They will see if you're a good fit for that coordinatorship. Once they determine that you are a good fit, the school head, in our case, the director, will be the one to speak with you, to get you to convince you, perhaps to persuade you to agree to the coordinatorship. Now, it's different because I learned from a friend of mine who is a teacher in the public schools here in the Philippines, that when you want to be promoted, you have that item, they call it the item, they call it the plantilla. It has to be available to you. If it's not available, you have to wait until it's available. And then if, let's say, it's available in that area, you have to submit. You have to submit documents, and you have to attend 3-day training, and you have to take a ranking exam. So if you pass the ranking exam, let's say only the top ones are usually given the right to choose that place, or to be assigned that position. Now, if that plantilla or that item is not offered in that area, you cannot apply for promotion, or you cannot apply for a movement from one district or one province to another. So those are the differences there between the public and the private.
Awesome. I want a follow-up question actually with that, but I actually want to address it with Gem this time, because there were 2 points. First point that I want to inject would be the requirement for the certificate or the LET, having to pass the LET exam. So I think I can go back to my experience, because I graduated in 98 with a mass communication, but I had to take, when you said you have to have that Bachelor of Arts in education, right, to be able to teach. And that's why I had to go re-enroll myself at St. Teresa's College to get that elementary Bachelor of Science in elementary education, because otherwise I could not teach. So I think that's very recent, because it was still in 2000 too. The other thing that I wanted to ask Jem, because I know that you are now the department chair, right? And you are in a public school in US. And our topic is the difference between, that movement, right? So Miss Lilette was sharing with us how it is done in the Philippines. Talk to us here in the US. How do you achieve, right? Or how do you grow in the career now as a department chair? So what was the route there?
Um, Hi. So, backtrack muna a little bit. So in the Philippines, I was in private school, and then so three years in La Consolacion, Mindiola. And then when I moved to the US, I said like, oh my gosh, I don't have certifications. I went to private school first, and so there was no again required certification at that time. And then when I moved to Aldin, I was still, like new, kind of like zero experience. So I really worked my way up into, not to prove yourself, but being really as a teacher, your content, your pedagogy, observations from your AP, from your assistant principal, from all the leadership team. And then so when they saw how, we really, in the classroom, hindi sa pagbubuhat naman ng ano no ng upuan, but they saw how I think I would say really say how we Filipino teachers, we have that passion, we have that integrity, and so we love our profession, or I would say really our vocation. And so they saw that. And so I really walked my way up in order to be a department chair, not because that, we can just put her there, but they saw the potential, they saw the leadership in me, among my students, among my peers. And at that time, I'm not yet used to advocating for myself. But, sinasabing, they see what I do, not because I say it, but they saw what I do in the classroom with my colleagues. And then they taught me for presenting in the district. And then nakita ng program directors and said like, hey, Ms. Lim, can you be part of the Algebra 1 curriculum writers? Okay, sure. So all of those opportunities, if those opportunities open, I grabbed it, and I said, because that's part of my growth, that I'm not going to be a teacher in the classroom, but how can I reach out also to others? And so, like I said, they saw that in me, and they saw the leadership in me with teachers, with colleagues, with the district, and with students. And then,
It opened up. Okay.
And then it just went right there.
I want to ask, that was a great sharing, Jam. I want to ask Justina, because with these differences in acquiring your certification and then use it for you to move up, how is it like? You know how different states have different policies with regard to moving up? How is it like in New York when it comes to moving your position from one grade higher? Does certification plays a lot of role on this thing? Would you like to respond to that, please?
So again, good evening Philippines, good morning US, EST and Houston. Okay, when in terms of like moving up, it's really just in New York, it's not like what you do. In a way, it is more of like uh your credentials. So if you took further education in terms of leadership, then you can use that to apply for a position for leadership. So it's what path did you really take. However, what you do while you are in the classroom, outside the classroom, would help for people to discover what you can really offer. So, but in terms of applying, they don't really like, you don't really need to like use your um certificates, like workshop certificates, the things you do to like help you get the job. It's just what you have. If you have a further education in leadership, then you apply for assistant principal, something like that, or principalship. But if you did not, then you can just be a classroom teacher, or if they can see your potential to become like what Mom Gemela said, curriculum writer, then they would give you the responsibility. And in New York, the other thing is that there is this position where what you do is going to benefit you. So this time they are hiring like coaches. So when you apply for a coach, you don't really have to have this degree or higher education to be a coach. For as long as you can assume the role and they saw you doing it, plus of course your dedication, which Mom Gemela said, it's true. Whatever they see in us, it's really like our work ethics, Filipino work ethics, from where we came from, it really resonates. No matter what we do in the classroom, they can see it, and that's a plus factor when you apply for those position. So
Wow.
wise, no.
Okay, go ahead, Lee.
Yes, that's true. I'd like to point out, no, during my time in Texas, I saw for a fact how dedicated Filipino teachers were. I'm not saying that the other teachers there were not, but definitely the number of Filipino teachers they hire for every district, for every state, increases every year. Now, just I want to point out something interesting. In my mind, it's interesting. My mind, it's interesting. Anyway, a few years back, Senator Trillanes passed this law wherein teachers had to continue. It's more like saying they had to get out of their comfort zones and really go out and find seminars, find ways for continuous education. He actually promoted that. There were a lot of teachers were saying, "What on earth is this?" But I think it's a good thing that he did, because when I was teaching in Texas with 𝙀𝙤𝙀𝙀 Elementary, they would always my principal then, Principal Saldivar, I don't know if he's still around, but anyway, he would always say, you have to attend this seminar, you have to have a specific number of points. Am I correct?
Yes.
That's still
Yes.
So that's what the Trillanes law actually adapted here. So every time that we have to renew our PRC license, we have to have a specific number of CPD units. And these CPD units will only be granted or given to you if the seminar that you attended is credited by the DepEd, by the Department of Education. So before you can get those, the process for that seminar, or for whoever is putting up that seminar, the process is actually tedious, because they have to apply for the CPD units from the DepEd to be applied to every teacher who attends the seminar. So at first, a lot of people were questioning that. A lot of teachers were against that. But now I see the point of it all. If you are one person who does not feel like going back to school, this is one way for you to actually continue your education. And the nice thing there is that, if aside from DepEd giving all these seminars with CPD units, even the schools, the private schools, are doing the same thing. So they apply for that with the DepEd. And so, like Colegio San Agustin, Makati, they would always give us, during our summer work schedules, they would always give us these seminars that are credited by the DepEd for CPD units.
Awesome. Nagkakaano na tayo. Our discussion is really getting in-depth. I love it. Our audience are learning so much. But it's now time for us to pause for a break. So when we come back, I know Justina is gonna give us, share with us some insights on that. So hang on. We will be right back.
Join us for a captivating new series where Lawin sits down with the trailblazers of the music and entertainment world. Discover the stories behind the faces and voices that shape our culture and community.
We will bring you exclusive interviews with industry legends and rising stars. Behind the scenes insights and get a peek into the creative processes and personal journeys. Artists and performers and their upcoming shows and events.
Stay tuned for more updates and sneak peeks. Follow us on social media and subscribe to our channel.
All right,
We're
and
back.
we are back. All right, Justina's here. I know you wanted to add to that something about the conversation. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to piggyback on what Mom Lycia said. So in New York, 5 years ago, so in New York, when you have your certification, so you're good. You can teach, but you can only teach according to what is stated in your certification. So, but 5 years ago, we had the DOE required us for continued learning. They call it CTLE, continued teaching, learning experience, something like that, or education. So we are required to like accumulate about 150 professional learning opportunities, 150 hours in a span of 5 years. If you cannot earn that, your certification will be revoked, or you cannot continue teaching anymore. The thing in New York is that they don't really require you in the span of 5 years, in a way that they don't tell you, okay, your certifications like this, you have to, they don't give you any notices, they give you that responsibility to maintain it. However, some, for example, after 5 years, they did not earn enough hours, they get this notice, and you are given very short period of time to like accumulate it. The difference is that it's not like in the Philippines, where you are going to apply for this, and it's so hard to like look for one in the Philippines because they have to be accredited by the DepEd as provider. Here, the difference is New York City is that they provide you all these platforms, all this avenue to earn this 150 hours. So that's the only difference. But in terms of like maintaining your certifications, it's like similar to what Ma'am Lycia said.
Yes. And again, we want to talk about a lot of things, right? We talked about, DOE. We are really teachers in America because we start using acronyms. And so for the sake of our audience, DOE, Department of Education. And we talked about CPD, Continuing Professional Development. So I think really the bottom line and the idea is that there is a need to continue your professional development, because as teachers, we have to be learners first, right?
Right.
Again, each of the state will have a certain requirement for you to continue that professional development. So you are also on top of the research and on top of the recent research teaching strategies. Again, the why behind it is that we cannot keep teaching the way we taught 20 years ago, right?
Years ago, right.
That is very crucial because we have to keep up with the time. So I think one of the things that I'm so happy to hear is that both the accountability from both Philippines and America is there. The only thing is that in the US, because they understand that there is a need, there's a lot of opportunities really given by the schools, or the district initiate those professional development.
Right. And to piggyback with that, Dr. Clare, different districts here in Texas have different ways for accommodating professional development for their teachers. If, in my experience, right, in my district, there is already an array of professional development that is given to you, and you have the entire school year to complete it. At the end of the school year, before that summer break starts, you will receive notices from the district, particularly right from the human resource, that you need to finish all of these courses before you could check out for the summer. and your administrators will definitely check on it. They will check you out, and if you don't, you will get a memo for that. So this is a thing that we really need to take care for us to be responsible and accountable for what we need to do in our profession. So I think the rest of the district will also has also stuff like that. But to give an emphasis to the responsibility of every educators to hone their skills and be updated to what is new in education. So
Exactly, love it. Now let's go ahead. We're gonna go ahead and do some shout outs to all our audience engaging with us today. So let's start with again from Mildred Danao Malito. Decades of teaching, but true, sis Gemela Lim. You still have the stamina and passion for teaching. Woot woot.
Snap.
Yes. Next one.
We have Zep Paul. Good morning, Paul. I wonder where is Zep coming from?
Okay, we have the Mildred saying credentials, experience, and what they see in the classroom matters, especially when you are moving to that next step, right? To what we call instructional leadership team. Same here in the US when we renew our teaching certifications. Awesome. Another shout out. Who else is engaging with us?
Sel Marie Alagos. I agree with Mom Lycia said about acquiring trainings and seminars. When I took my master's degree, I realized that there's a lot of content and pedagogies that I didn't gain from bachelor's degree. That is so true. Time flies so fast and everything is changing like computers. Everything should be updated, guys.
That's true. Now, let's go ahead and move to the next question. I think a lot of our audience would like to know this from all our guest speakers. What was the biggest challenge for you as you transition from teaching from the Philippines to the US? So let's go ahead and ask Ms. Gem. Can you tell us what was your biggest transition?
So the biggest challenge really is the culture. You know, like teaching in the Philippines is different because when probably back in the 80s. And first, I want to shout out first that the Philippines now is really doing a lot for our educators to really have, be more trained to get out of the comfort zone. Don't settle for mediocrity. And I really shout out the DepEd for doing that. Anyway, so the challenge is really culture. That's the first thing because I'm so probably during my time it's really like a sage on the stage, like it's a teacher-centered model that I just do lectures and the students will just take notes and then there's no response. I'll ask one question, they answer, so there's no conversation, there's no collaboration. So that's one is the culture. And so when I moved here, I went to private school first, from private school in La Consolacion, private school here in the Philippines, because I need to adjust. Then 5 years after, I moved to a public school, and that was really, really a culture shock. And I mean, honestly, I had my resignation letter in December, but then that was like 29 years ago. So I'm still in a private school. I'm still with the same district. I didn't move. But once the student know that you care for them, the trust, the integrity, the respect, if you have that respect that you give to them, and then they'll give it back to you, because the content is not really a problem, because we have that. We have the content. We know what we're teaching. But once we have developed that rapport among our students, then they will know like, oh, this teacher is different. She cares for me. And so that was really like my first 2 years was really tough in a public school. But then once I did like, going to trainings and going to all the professional development, I was like, oh, so this is how I need to really embrace the culture and don't teach the way how I taught in the Philippines, but really adapt myself here in the US, because they really see that you are engaging with the students and it's really more student-centered.
Yes.
And that really helped a lot because like what I said, approaches have changed over time. They have changed over time. But the bottom line is once, like what's in the trust is there, and you have less more of a teacher but more from the students, then they'll know that you care for their education, not just to care for them as an individual. So you have to have that listening ears as well. It's
Got it.
tough, but we have to be tough with love.
Got it.
To be tough with love, because once they know that you're tough, you cannot just be you're not to push over, because they know, oh, she's Filipina, oh, she has an accent, oh, I don't understand her accent, blah blah blah. And so it's like, but once we have that, and then they will work with you. In fact, sometimes they will work for you. And they will even like defend you, because when I was at Nemitz Ninth High School, I taught all these football players. Oh my gosh, they're taller than me, but when they knew, when they knew that I trusted them, their opinions accepted. I mean, everything just went flow.
So I really love how you talked about, not just being teacher centered, right? So the difference is that, and sometimes we teach how we learn. So how we learned in the Philippines is that the teacher is the main focus, does everything for us. But then now when you talk about the culture here in America, that's what we're talking about, the culture that, that the teacher is not the main focus. It is everybody, that we're all self-centered, here. Our kids also feel like they have that right. So I think that shift that you were talking about, Miss Justina, you were trying to share something to us to add to what Jam was saying.
Yeah, so we're talking about transition, and I would like to share how I started in the US. So in the Philippines, I taught first grade for the whole teaching career in the US. In the Philippines, I taught first grade. And during that time, especially when I was starting, it was so difficult for me because I have to explore how to become a good teacher, at the same time, how to become a parent, a mother to like 30 kids. In the Philippines, this first grade, there's in the first month of school, they are all crying. So I was very young at that time, and to take care of like 30 children, with half of them are crying because of separation anxiety, it's so hard. But I was able to overcome it. But when I came to the US, here is the thing. My certification got me into teaching 7 to 12. So when I passed my certification, they gave me 7 to 12. So I was teaching, I can teach 6th grade to 12th grade. So I started with middle school, 7th grade. You know how tough it is to teach this age group.
Yeah.
So in the first few months, Mom Gemela, everything that Mom Gemela said was there. They were laughing at me. They don't understand me. But what I used to do in the Philippines, because we have limited resources, not like here. I have in my classroom this 3 huge whiteboard. So from the objective all the way to evaluation, you can see from the board. So that's what I do every morning. And it doesn't seem to be working. The students do not appreciate it. So I did that for almost 4 months. And then, so there are 2 doors in the classroom. The students enter the door on the right, and then they exit the door on the left. So it's like that. We are just circling the classroom. And it's so frustrating. You cannot teach. And then one day, but what Mom Gemela said, I took that 4 months with tons and tons of patience, with like everything that you can name it. One day, I just raised my voice at the students. It's their first time to hear my voice that loud. They all went to their seats. And all the administrators ran to my classroom. And that's the first time I was able to teach. And that's also the first time they saw the work, the dedication I put in that class. And I gained the support of my administrators. Second, I gained the respect of my students. And that's when I also learned that experience taught me how to respect them as um, the way they were raised here. That told me that I have to learn their culture in order to teach them. And that was my first year of hardships in public school in New York. So from that time
Wow.
onwards, I was very successful every year. I don't remember calling the dean or any administrator to like help me manage the classroom. Yes, it's our
Wow.
experience and our nature as Filipinos, what we learn from our culture, you bring it here and you do it with dedication, learn their culture, try to manage with it, and you will become a successful teacher. Awesome.
Wow, that's a huge challenge right there. But I like the way you have responded to our kids, to your kids, the way you respect their culture, and how the administrators were able to see your dedication in that, Justina. And I believe all of us has pieces of all of this experience that you and Jamela had. I think Lilith too, right, Lilith?
Yeah, I think definitely culture is one thing to be considered there when you transition from the Philippines to the United States. However, I think in my case, I was pretty fortunate because I was transferred or I transitioned to a purely Hispanic culture since it's Brownsville. But the one major change there, uh, I did not graduate with a SPED degree,
Mm-hmm.
but I was hired to be a special education teacher. So that was the biggest change. I did not know what to do. I really did not. Uh, the only the only experience that I had with children with special needs at that time was when I worked as a volunteer teacher's aide with Elk Cerebral Palsy Rehab Center here in Makati. And that was way back in the 80s. But that was what, according to the interviewer of BISD at that time, Brownsville ISD, it was that interview and that note in my resume that convinced her that I would be able to handle it. So no units in SPED, no background in SPED whatsoever. That was where I taught those 2 years that I worked in the United States. So I can you imagine how nervous I was because these are children with special needs and they were 13 children with special needs. But the one thing that I have to point out here was that all district schools with special education centers had their paraprofessionals. So they were a great big help to me. So when I was there, I was learning the ropes. They were helping me. And another thing that I was amazed with when I was there was that all the services that children with special needs required were being given to them by the government. So, um, just to give you a background of the 13 students during that first year, I was given the task to be the teacher of a life skills class. So I had a child who had cerebral palsy, who was at the same time blind, at the same time had autism spectrum disorder, at the same time was nonverbal. But he was receiving all the services that he needed. He was receiving PT, he was receiving OT, he was receiving blind instruction or visual impairment instruction. He was receiving so many more things, and that amazed me. I was totally floored by everything I experienced during my 2 years there, and I couldn't help but feel that if only our services were the same as theirs. And
Yes.
I
Right.
kept asking myself, if they can do it, why can't we do it? But
Right.
that's a totally different That's a totally different chikahan.
Yes.
So that was my major. That was the major change, the major out of the box experience for me. From a regular teacher, a general education classroom teacher, to being a SPED teacher. However, no matter how challenging it was the turning point in my decision when I came back to teach here again in the Philippines. I wanted to be in that particular department or particular area of education. So um, definitely it was very fulfilling. I learned a lot from those 13 children. I learned a lot from that experience, from that eye-opening experience. And I also can't help but question our services because of what I experienced there. I mean, it was amazing. From the minute that a child is born and identified as a child with special needs, all services would be provided for that child. And they were given subsidy by the government as well.
Right.
That was amazing. And I am so happy that right now, inclusive education has been passed in
Oh, wow.
2022. However, we still do not have the implementing rules and regulations. So we cannot move forward. Private schools cannot move forward yet because we need those IRRs to be able to come up with policies that would help our schools to become truly inclusive. Because I found that also, that even if the school had a special education class like 𝙀𝙀 Elementary, their general education classrooms were very inclusive. So if they can do it, again, my thought was, if they can do it, why can't we? We can do
right.
it. It's just a matter of opening our minds to the possibilities and taking a step out of a box.
Well, I think Lycia, for everybody's information, Lycia is one of those people who put, the initiative right in 𝙀𝙀𝙀𝙀 in putting in helping and assisting our children with special needs, and I really admire you, Lit, for doing that. Maybe you could push and start the group so that everybody and the government would listen to that thing, that they will provide services and focus on providing services to our kids with special needs. This is a very, very rich discussion, Dr. Claire. Do you think?
Yes, oh my goodness. And guess what? 1 hour is not even enough to explore, right? Such one, a very, very big topic. And what I loved about it is that we even added, some more insights into things, right? That is just beyond the comparison of, the American and Philippine system. So I know this is now the time when we are about to close out, but before we do, we just want our guests to give us, a very quick, one-liner or two maybe. What is the best advice that you can give teachers in the Philippines or another country about teaching in the U.S. school? So just a quick, last note that you would like to share to our audience. Let's start with Jem. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I'll start. So don't be a sage on the stage.
Okay.
The students is really the center of our education, and leveraging student learning through data-driven instructions. Collaborate with your team. You're not alone. Collaborate with teachers, not only in your comfort zone, in your campus. Go outside because there's a lot of nature. And one more thing is, this is what I'm going to advise to all teachers, not just new, but for us too. Spend a time, 1 week time, to develop routine. Teach like a champion. Teach like a champion. Develop routine with the kids, so that by second week or third week, you are not surviving.
Yes.
You are teaching, because students know your routine. The students know your expectations. Make it simple, doable, observable, measurable. Good luck po sa ating lahat at napakasalamat po sa honor that you gave me for this time.
Thank you, Jem. Thank you.
Miss Justina.
Okay, yeah. What I've been using and what I've always been on top of my head whenever I start, because every year is always a new thing for me. So, new sets of students. I always tell this to my students: for you to become a successful teacher, manager of the classroom, you must become a parent to these kids. So what I always tell my students is that before I can teach you, I have to become a parent to you. So that's when you are going to bring out your patience, dedication, motherly touch to these kids. Because once you become a mother to them, you would fully understand what they need, each one of them. So
Really?
again, for those who are trying to start teaching career in the US, try to become a parent to a kid,
Yes.
to a US kid before you can teach.
Yes. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Miss Lilette, based on your experience, teaching here, any advice that you would like to give?
Um, well, first, I'd like to say I agree with Miss Jamila and Miss Justina, especially with the point of loving your pupils, loving your students. Once they know that you care for them, you've already built a rapport. They will already start trusting you, because trust is very important between you and your student. And then collaborate. That's true. Communicate, collaborate, cooperate. It's not just you. You are working with everybody in the school to give the best kind of education for your students. But most of all, when it comes to you, like what Miss Jamila said, don't be a sage on the stage, and don't always think it's about you. It's never about you. It's always about the children. So um, plan ahead and make sure that you have a contingency for every possible thing that can go wrong. But at the end, also welcome some changes, welcome the challenges, and love that you're learning with the children, from the children, and loving what you do.
Wow.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Wow. Very, very amazing discussion. We had one solid discussion today.
That's
Before we
right.
leave, let's just have a quick shout out to all our audience who have engaged with us to honor their time for, engaging. So let's start with, I
Who do
think
we have?
we have Miss Mildred. There should be a part two. Congratulations to all. This is very enriching discussion and a good topic to explore more. Yay. Thank you, Mildred.
Who do we have? Selmarie Alagos. Thank you, Mom Jamela, for that wonderful input on my second year now and getting better with my relationship with my students. It is true that students will work for us if they feel that they are respected and cared for. Thank you, Selmarie. Thank
All
you.
right. And from Zendrick Ross, good morning, Paul. Good morning, Zendrick. Thank you for engaging with us. And lastly, go ahead.
Mildred, thank you. You're welcome. A lot of good takeaways. There you
Awesome.
go.
Of course, this has been a wonderful discussion, Chikahan, na may katuturan, right?
Yeah.
Chikahan with a cause, right? With depth. Thank you so much to all our distinguished guests, Miss Lilette, Miss Gemela, and Miss Justina for your time. And of course,
Before we end, I just want to remind everybody next Saturday, we are going to have another exciting episode, another exciting discussion, and our title for next week, Teacher sa Umaga, Madiskarte After School. Wow.
So we
So
will be
we are going
exploring.
to invite teachers who are teaching in the morning, of course, and then after school, what do they do? Do they go straight home or do they invest in any or in another profession. Let's go
Yes.
watch out. We have a lot. I think we have 3 or 2 of
Yes,
them who are really, really good.
we have two that have sort of
Okay.
confirmed already. So
Yes.
yes, it's
Okay.
going
So
to be
watch out
another.
for that next week, guys.
Yes. Yeah, because
Okay.
we want to know we don't only teach, right? We also have other things that you are proud to do.
We
Of
are
course,
very talented.
before we leave, we want to thank our director for this podcast, Christian Toledo. Thank you always, Christian, for your time
Yes.
and just leading us. Thank you.
Thank
So,
you, Lid. Thank you, Lid. It's too late. It's late now. I know it's past the bedtime. Thank you so much. Jem, thank you. And Miss Justine, thank you for taking the place of your good husband. Thank you so much.
and
We are
this has been
very happy that you came. Thank you.
Thank you. And this has been another episode of Teacher Talk Live
Live with Teacher Cora
and Dr. Claire. Thank you again. Hope to see you next week. Bye,
Thank
everyone.
you,
God
guys.
bless.
Thank you.